They say a joke where David is walking on the beach, he's enjoying himself, and all of a sudden he hears this heavenly voice booming out, "David, David!" And David looks to heaven, he says, "God, is that you?" And God responds and says, "Yes, David, I've been watching you the last couple of months, and I've noticed you've been a good boy. You know what? I decided to reveal myself to you. I'm going to grant you a wish, whatever you want." And David starts to think, and he says, "You know what, God? If you can build me a highway straight from my driveway to Las Vegas, I think that's what I want." And God responds, "David, I thought you would ask for something a little bit more spiritual. Something so materialistic as a highway straight to Vegas." So David starts to think, and he says, "You know what, God? I got it. I want to have complete peace with my spouse. I want to fully understand her. I want to know what every teardrop means. I want to know what's behind every word. I want to have that beautiful, blissful, loving relationship. That's my wish, God." And God responds and he says, "David, do you want the highway to have 2 lanes or 4 lanes?" But think about it for a minute. Imagine God revealed himself to you. You saw God, you saw the glory. Would you act the same? Imagine you were able to point to God and say, "Ze Keli V'Anveyu." That's my God. I see it. I feel it. I can see God. I can point to God. Would we act the same? Would we rebel? Would we be an ingrate? Or would we chase after God, following in God's ways? So we have to ask ourselves the obvious question. That here the Jewish people, they were redeemed from the land of Egypt in a miraculous way. The 10 plagues. They leave the land of Egypt with wealth, with pompous and glory, and all of a sudden they get to the Yam Suf and they're trapped. The Egyptians on one side, the Yam Suf on the other side. They call out to God. God says, "Jump in the water." They jump in the water splits. They cross over to the other side. The Egyptians are drowned, spit up onto the dry land. The Jewish people sing Shira Az Yashir, Ze Keli V'Anveyu. Chazal tell us, Mashira Shivcha Bayom Lora Hanavi Yecheskel Ben Buzi. What the great Yecheskel Ben Buzi saw by the Maisim Arkava as the Gemara and Chagiga goes through. A little maidservant at the sea had a greater prophecy. Ze Keli V'Anveyu. But then we turn the page in the Chumash, and you have this situation of Mara. The Jewish people are complaining, "We have nothing to drink." The Jewish people go to Midbar Sin. They complain, "You should have left us in the land of Egypt. Did God take us out of here to take us to the desert to die?" And the obvious question is, come on, Jews. What's going on? You just saw God. You just had this miraculous experience. Now you're complaining about water. That God is abandoning you in the desert. He should have left you in the land of Egypt. But perhaps we can understand the reasoning behind this when we take a look at the Seder. Here, the Seder Pesach is the highlight of Pesach. Jews from all different types of backgrounds, they come together to sit down at the Seder. When it's a time when we pass down the Mesorah from generation to generation. It's a time for us to focus and to realize the special relationship that we have with Hashem, that we're this Am HaNivchar, we're the chosen nation. But if you take a look at what this meal is called, this Seder, it's called order. But couldn't we think of a better name for this meal? A more exciting name? A time when we're recounting everything that happened to us? The loving relationship we have with Hashem? Why Seder? Why order? And I believe the answer is because God was sending us a message. That here we're recounting that time when God took us to be His nation. Took us out of Egypt to give us the Torah at Har Sinai. We were introduced to this Judaism, to this Torah. And God was sending us that message that when you look at the Torah, when you go through life, it may seem vast. When you're working on your character, it may seem too hard to overcome those negative traits. When you're trying to connect with Hashem, you might say, it's too hard, God. You're too hidden. I don't see you. It's a time of Hester Panim. So God says, sit down at a Seder. When you go through life and you go through the Torah, make sure it's through Seder. It's through an order. It's through a step-by-step process. Don't jump the gun. And this is what the issue was with the Jewish people after Kriyas Yam Suf. That the Jewish people were on the 49th level of Toma. And like that, they're having these prophecies as great as Yechezkel ben Buzi. They just jump from the lowest to the highest. And when you fly like that, when you don't work for something, it doesn't get ingrained inside of you. It doesn't become a part of you. And when you're given a gift like that of jumping from a low level to a high level without any work, yes, you can see God. You can say, Zeh Keli V'yanveyu. But you turn the page and you can forget about everything that you saw. You can complain about water. You can think God abandoned you. So when we sit down at the Seder, we have to take this lesson to heart. Taking the message of order, of a step-by-step process, of realizing the way we grow in our Yiddishkeit, in our Judaism, in our connection with God is not by flying, but it's by step-by-step, a step-by-step process. And we might get knocked down, but it's getting up again, it's wiping ourselves off, and it's continuing. We don't live in a time of being able to point and say, Zeh Keli V'yanveyu. But we have those precious messages that were given to us so long ago. May we take this lesson to heart. May we all fulfill the amazing potential that lies in each and every one of us.